Kimo, good to see you, man. Welcome to Pop Alternative.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, man.
You know what? It's a really cool thing because, movies and TV are becoming so global and the access is getting bigger and bigger. And, a lot of these international movies, do the rounds in certain areas around the world. And then you play the waiting game, and now people are going to be able to see, Dancing Village of Curse Begins in the United States via Lionsgate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's that like for you? These waves of like some people get to see it in certain parts of countries and then others. Like, what's that like for you?
Awesome, man. I mean, I feel like, the world is getting smaller because of, obviously because of also the development of the OTTs, right? The streamers.
Yeah.
Because here we have Netflix, this particular world, we have almost everything that you guys have, and hopefully vice versa. That's something that we want to show also, because this in here we do, our industry is, it's pretty much growing.
Yeah.
And right now we getting, as you said, that the access is getting bigger, and hopefully that we can actually introduce a lot of stuff, because the audience getting more wanting to watch different stuff. And the Koreans have a lot of great stuff. The Japanese awesomely always been crazier. Now hopefully you guys can actually be exposed to Southeast Asian culture.
Yes.
The Indians has already done it, and almost particular part of the world, and now hopefully the Southeast Asians can give something different to you guys.
This one is fantastic.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah.
This one is fantastic. It is chaotic. There's so much going on. I feel like we're on a roller coaster, like a ride, watching this movie.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, I did want to ask, because there's the horror movie component of it. Like, it's very scary. Like, I truly think it's a scary movie, which is good. Like,
cool.
That's the point,
Which
right?
is good, yes.
But there's the supernatural component, right? So I'm wondering, are they kind of split down the middle of like importance or mindset when you're directing a movie like this? Or are you thinking more about the horror component versus the supernatural? Like, I'm curious about that.
I think it supports each other, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the horror component wouldn't work with the story of the supernatural origin, right? I think it's something that you have to put into together side by side and have that great balance.
Yes.
Because it is something that I think any storyteller or filmmaker from around the world feel the same thing. It's not easy to have that, great story. And luckily here in Indonesia, we have a lot of supernatural stories, or you can say traditional scary stories that we can actually put on screen. And I think because Indonesians love their horror genre to the max, right? And because the culture of that is deeply rooted, and people talk about it, and it have to have that balance between those elements, right? And hopefully, this one, it's something a bit of a challenge for me, because this is a 13 plus in my country, and probably much in US also, right? And it is a big challenge that I think it's, for me, it's much more easier to ramp up the gore and stuff and do what I used to do. And this is a big challenge to have, how to make it a little bit more beautiful, how to make it more culturally rooted, and all those stuff. It is something that it's a big challenge. But if you ask supernatural and horror stuff, I think
they
it needs to be
each other for sure.
It needs to complement each other. Yes,
100%.
Yes.
A lot happens before you go to camera for a movie, because I'm also a creative as well, and I just wrapped a short horror film that I produced and wrote as well.
Oh,
and
cool, man.
It
Awesome.
And like, a lot happens before you go film, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering for
Yes.
you with this movie, with Dancing Village, like, what was that like? Kind of like reading scripts, doing table reads, talking to your cast, big cast, like ensemble cast for this movie,
Yeah.
and then going and filming it. What was that kind of process like for you? Did a lot change? Did it feel kind of natural? Like, I'm just curious for you about that.
It's sort of, for me, it's really exciting because, we have already a release date in mind when we started this film.
Yeah.
And that particular timeline is pretty short. I think from we shoot towards we release, I only been given about 6 months to do it. So
Wow.
it's a big challenge for me, but it's kind of normal in Indonesia in a way, because here the scale is different from the US. You have like, that certain amount of budget. We have the fraction of it, but hopefully, because of that, we sort of, train to use our stressful matters and stressful balls pretty much very insane, but it is a big challenge for me. This is to be considered to be a big film in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Especially from that particular genre.
From a scale perspective and a budget perspective.
From a scale
Absolutely.
perspective, from a scale perspective for horror genre in Indonesia, this one is pretty much quite big.
Yeah.
But the pressure is real. The pressure is real because we already set a date for the release. We already set a date for when we have to submit it towards the technical stuff with IMAX, because from Indonesia we have to send our stuff towards IMAX and then be converted. That's a big challenge, and working with the key to have a cast that it's not difficult cast, because they very open for suggestions, and I also been supported by a great producers that really wanted this to happen, and a little compromise to be done, right? But the challenge is from the very beginning, from the writing phase, I also involved there. It's already a big challenge because the story is pretty difficult. As you can see, it's quite difficult to digest, and particularly for international audience. And for me, I think I have to find that middle ground where the universal language is there, so this piece can travel.
Yeah.
And the prep, it's quite crazy, because we have to use the ones before. This is sort of like a prequel, right? Because of prequel, everything it's built. It's supposed to be built nicely, right?
Yeah.
And afterwards should be decaying a bit, because this is set up in 1980. So we have to create that world in a very certain amount of time.
And the aesthetics, like going back in time, like what everyone looks like. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and also all of that, plus in the real situation, the set is already destroyed before, right? And we cannot actually go the same set, because the actual village, it's a different village. We have to be in the shoot, we have to be different one.
Totally.
We have to create one, and that's a big of a challenge. But I have my crew behind, a wonderful crew that actually can support me in every vision that I did. So yes, it's I think it's the same for any filmmakers. Getting very nervous when we do the preps, and we don't have time to do it. I think in every filmmaker is always that situation. Never be enough time for everyone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very true. Last question before we wrap up, super quick.
Yeah.
I mean, horror movies have always been around, Kimo. Like they've always been around.
Yes.
It is an exciting time for the genre. The popularity of the genre, the ideas, the innovation all around the world. Like it's like the best genre to work in right now. What is that like working in the horror movie genre, knowing where we're going with it and knowing that there's an appetite for this content? Like it's crazy, right?
Of course, I love it, man. This is my passion from the very beginning. I never stray from my genre yet, but people have been asking me to do some, drama or comedy. But I said to them, man, I want to play with, a lot of something gory or blood, I think that would be very fun. But, well, in the future, maybe just a big maybe. I think I want to do other genre than action or horror. I did action my previous work also, and also thriller. I already did that, but I think I have to find everything in it. But genre horror is something that I'm pretty lucky to be involved with, and I'm pretty lucky to have that sort of projects. And hopefully in the future, I have another great
And
horror.
the fans, the horror movie fans, all around the world, they watch them all. Like when you talk to someone who's a fan of horror movies, like they they've watched all of them. Like
exactly,
I watch all of them. Like I'm a big fan, right? Like it's crazy.
Then it become really difficult to make something new, right? Now that's a big challenge.
No, but there's like the psychological. This movie has a little bit of like the head games, a little bit too. Messes with your head a little bit. It's got everything. People are going to be able to go see it in the United States via Lionsgate, April 26th in theaters. That's Dancing Village, The Curse Begins. Kimo, so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter. Lovely to have you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Your Instagram account is where people can keep up to date with everything, right? So you have an Instagram account?
Same.
Is it just your name?
Kimo Stamboel, yes.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome.
Just my name, Kimo Stamboel.
Awesome.
Just my one.
Well, this has been Pop
Thank you, man.
YouTube.com.
Awesome, PD.
Thanks. Episodes. This is Kimo and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.